RV Television welcomes you to the first in a new series of railway video magazines, Railways Around Europe. In Volume 1, the UK features in the Settle Carlisle Railway. Preserved Steam takes us to the Keithley and Worth Valley Railway. The European city visited is Basel. We scale the high Alps on the railways of the Jungfrau region of Switzerland. The locomotive profile is of the British Railways Class 25 diesel. And finally, we finish Volume 1 with highlights from a cab ride on the beautiful Cetovalli Railway in the Ticino, deep in the south of Switzerland. In the early spring of 1989, British Rail looked set to close the Settle Carlisle Railway. This now famous railway fights its way across Britain's backbone through some of the most inhospitable and yet beautiful landscape the country has to offer. On this cold and snowy morning, locomotive number 31200 hauls the heavy crane and works train into Garsdale station. Garsdale Head was once the junction of the Garsdale to Hawes branch line. The only regular freight traffic on the Settle Carlisle Railway is the occasional quarry train, hauled by Class 31 diesel locomotives. The reason for all this activity in the snow is the old locomotive turntable, which the Keithley and Worth Valley Railway Society are having removed by British Rail engineers. The quarry train, having cleared the section, leaves the way clear for the British Rail crew to manoeuvre the heavy crane into position for the lift. Slowly but surely, the heavy turntable is lifted from its resting place and transferred carefully onto the bogie flat to be transported to Keithley station. The last view we see of the train is as it disappears south across the famous Ribble Head Viaduct. Our steam feature takes us to the picturesque Keithley and Worth Valley Railway. Situated in West Yorkshire, the railway is home to a variety of steam locomotives. In the yard today, though, is a special visitor from the National Railway Museum in York. Green Arrow has been operating steam specials on the main line and is making a one-day stopover at Haworth on its way home to York Museum. The largest locomotive to reside at the Haworth depot is XBR Bullard West Country 462, number 34092, City of Wells. Number 34092 was constructed at Brighton in 1949 for the southern region of British Rail. City of Wells was finally withdrawn from service in November 1964. Having survived for 7 years in the Barry scrapyards, number 34092 was moved to the Keithley and Worth Valley for restoration in 1971. After 9 years of restoration, City of Wells has become a regular performer, not only on the Keithley and Worth Valley, but also on British Rail mainline runs. By contrast, the oldest locomotive on the railway is the Haydock Foundry 060 well tank Bellerophon. Bellerophon was built in 1874 and was the third of a batch of 060 well locomotives, so called because the water tank was built between the main under the boiler. These locomotives are notable in that they represent the first successful application of piston valves in steam locomotives in Britain. The other 5 Haydock locomotives all disappeared under the cutter's torch in the early 1960s. In 1966, the National Coal Board donated the locomotive to the Society, who found it a home at Haworth as a static exhibit. It was only the great efforts of Society members which restored Bellerophon to its former glory, and the locomotive can be regularly seen in active service on the railway. Emerging from beneath the station bridge at Keithley is USA 060 side tank number 72. This locomotive was built by the Vulcan Iron Works, Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, in 1943. The locomotive probably saw very little military service and was transferred to Southern Railways stock in April 1947. As British Railways number 30072, it left Southampton Docks, where it worked as a shunter, in 1952, to operate for a short time on the London Midland region at Willesden. Number 72 has typical American features, with bar frames, no running plate, 3 domes on the boiler, and accessible pipework. Other features rarely seen in British shunting locomotives are the outside valve gear and cylinders driving onto the rear axle. The main difference from United States practice is British buffing and draw gear. From the tunnel exit at Ingro West Station emerges Stewart's and Lloyd's 060 saddle tank number 63, Corby. Built in 1954, number 63 was moved to Haworth from the Corby Steelworks in May 1969. The locomotive can be seen in regular service on passenger trains following an extensive overhaul. Number 63 is larger and more powerful than the austerity WD saddle tanks, and has a shorter saddle tank to accommodate a large raised firebox. Our next destination takes us to a city that borders Switzerland, Germany, and France. Basel, a city at the corner of 3 countries. Outside the impressive main Swiss railway station stands a busy tram interchange. Trams such as these provide a major form of urban transport throughout Basel the complex network of lines stretching far across the city. For the railway enthusiast, 3 different railways converge on Basel, necessitating different railway stations. To the north of the Rhine stands the German station Basel-Bad, and to the south of the river, the combined Swiss and French station. Freight and passenger train movements between Basel-Bad and the Swiss Federal Railway station is achieved via this bridge over the Rhine. The trains seen crossing this bridge in a steady flow daily are bound for far-off destinations in the 4 corners of Europe. A vast variety of different train formations can be seen crossing the bridge, from row upon row of container wagons and mixed freight to international express passenger trains and locomotives of both the Swiss Federal and the German Federal Railways.
Morgan?
The locomotives include a Swiss AE66, the first batch of 25 in red livery, and a red and cream DB Class 103. In the busy Swiss station, an EE33 shunter removes from a train an SBB dining car with cooking pantograph raised. On the main platform, an intercity express train headed by an RE442 departs for the Italian border via the mighty Gotthard Pass. Staying in Switzerland, our next feature takes a different form of rail travel as we prepare to scale the mighty heights of the Jungfrau region. In the heart of this alpine region of Switzerland lies Interlaken. From the station on the eastern side of the town, brown and cream trains of the Bernese Oberlandbahn begin a journey that will climb to a height of over 11,000 feet above sea level. The first station encountered is Wilderswil, from which small electric rack and pinion locomotives push their trains to the summit of the Schiniger Plateau. But for our journey this time, we must press on and begin the climb just outside Wilderswil, where the meter gauge BOB trains run onto the rack section for the first climb to Lauterbrunnen. In Lauterbrunnen, we change trains to the green and cream liveried 800mm gauge Wengen-Alpbahn, which climbs to the famous ski resort of Wengen. From Wengen, the climb continues to Kleine Scheidegg at the foot of the mighty Eiger. We've climbed to 6,762 feet above sea level. But our goal is the station at the Jungfraujoch inside the mountain, standing at an impressive 11,332 feet above sea level. To climb to this high altitude, we must once again change trains, this time boarding the meter gauge Jungfraubahn. This is electrified at 1,125 volts, 50 Hertz, 3-phase, which explains the paired pantographs. The line's creator, Adolf Guyot-Seller, was a man of vision and determination, from whose brain emanated the plan of a looped tunnel through the Eiger to the Jungfrau. Unfortunately, he died before the line was completed. Construction of this mighty railway, which travels through the very heart of the Eiger mountain, lasted for 14 years. In places, the gradient steepens to 25%. The BDHE 24 motor coaches slowing to 9 kilometers per hour over these sections. At Eiger Gletscher Station, we pass the depot before rounding a corner and plunging into the darkness of this 5-mile-long tunnel. Two stations have been carved out of the solid rock. The first, at Eigerwand, is halfway up the fearsome north wall of the Eiger, giving impressive views over the Grindelwald Valley below. A little further on, the Ijsmeer station provides the visitors with views across the mighty Aletsch Glacier. Finally, cresting the climb, the trains roll into the mountain station at Jungfraujoch. 50 minutes after departing from Kleine Scheidegg, we've climbed to 11,332 feet above sea level. On the terraces, the views are breathtaking. Glaciers stretch out into the distance, and from the dizzy heights of the Sphinx Observatory, Kleine Scheidegg appears as a dot on the valley floor below. Back at Kleine Scheidegg, historical old locomotive HGE 22 number 10, one of 5 built between 1912 and 1924, arrives from the summit. This composition, comprising engine and coupled trailer car, supported by the locomotive, is known as the Rowan system. Thousands of passengers travel to the Jungfrau daily in high summer, most completing the round trip of the Jungfrau region by returning to Grindelwald on the opposite arm of the Wengenaufbahn, which has its main depot at Grindelwald Grund. Here, the trains reverse before ascending once more to Grindelwald to connect with the BOB for the return journey to Interlaken. The British Railway's standard Class 25, as we know it today, is a direct descendant of the original 1955 pilot scheme order for 20 Bobo diesel-electric Type 2 locomotives. The Class 25 locomotives were built in the railway works at both Crewe and Darlington, and also under contract at Gorton near Manchester in the Bayer Peacock Works. By 1967, an incredible 478 locomotives had been built. The only diesel classes in the UK to surpass these figures are the 08s and the 47s. The first series of Class 25s were equipped with 1,250 bhp Sulzer 137BX traction motors. And it wasn't until D5176 that the final form of traction equipment, the now famous AE1253AY motor, was installed. The first 82 Class 25s were built with a pair of doors on the cab fronts, to enable the driver's assistant to reach and operate the boilers of a second locomotive when they were working in multiple. These doors are no longer operational on the remaining members of the class because they caused the cab to be so drafty that they were welded up during works overhauls. The early 1980s saw the decrease and ultimate withdrawal of the class, and the preservation societies were soon to become the proud owners of these powerful locomotives. In addition to 3 Class 24s, there are currently 8 Class 25s preserved. These locomotives can be seen at the Severn Valley, North Yorkshire Moors, Dean Forest, Swanage, Mid Hants and Paignton, and Dartmouth Railways. Deep in the south of Switzerland stands the town of Locarno. From here, the Cetovalli Railway runs a regular service to Domodossola in Italy. We join the train as it leaves the outskirts of the town and begins the climb along the route of the 100 valleys. on this occasion, we could go no further than Camedo on the Italian border.